today is very special day for all of you. Since on our first series, you grabbed a knowledge on various technologies. Last week, you enjoyed your session on moving towards Industry 4.0 with IoT and robotics. This week, we are going to talk about the developing solution for Industry 4.0. Before we start our session, I'll introduce our resource person. He's Migara Amitodana. I know you all know about him, no need to introduce, but anyway, he's a chartered engineer and graduated in Bachelor of Electrical and Telecommunication from University of Maltur. He has been involved in developing technical solutions for various fields in Sri Lanka. He has over 8-year experience in ICT industry, and he's a partner of MagicBit, which promotes innovation and creativity for next generation. If you have any question regarding the session, don't hesitate to ask. You can put your own question into your chat box. Enjoy today's session. Over to you, Migara.
Hi everyone. So today's session will be the second one we are doing, and I hope you can see in the second screen I'm using as MagicBit phone. You can see me, and we are doing this as the second following up session for the introductory session we did as moving towards Industry 4.0. So in the second session, last week I told everyone that we'll be doing a practical demo of how we can develop an IoT solution, and I said I'll be doing that live. So that's what we are going to do today. But before moving on to that, I'll brush up your knowledge, and maybe there might be newcomers for today's session. So I'll update you on what we discussed last week very quickly, and I will explain you some of the vital information that you need when you are developing a practical solution. So that's the idea. So I'm going to explain you few concepts that are related to this. Then I will demonstrate you how you can develop these things using free resources, right? And in today's session, there's a giveaway as well. So I invite you, all of you, to closely follow up my session today. And before we start this session, I must thank American Center and the team there, Ranjan, Sanjay, Nadi, all of them for arranging this session to aware all of you and to promote innovation among the next generation in our country. So let's move on with today's session, and I welcome all of you to this session. And I have the topic as develop solutions for Industry 4.0. So that's the idea. And as mentioned by Nadi, my name is Migara, and I'm an engineer by profession, and I've been in the industry for like 8 years now. So when we are progressing with the session, I kindly request all of you to pay close attention. And while you are doing so, if you have got any questions, you can either post it in the chat or ask when we go for the Q&A session. And our Q&A sessions we'll be having in between the session. I'll give about 5 minutes break during the session, so you can ask the doubts you have either by unmuting yourself or else during the session you can put it in the chat. Then Nadi will direct those questions to me when we are going forward with the Q&A session. And on the other hand, during the session, if you have any suggestions, ideas, so feel free to post that as well. And at the end of the session as well, also we'll be having a Q&A session followed by, I'll share my contact. So if you have any problem, you can reach out to me later. So today's session, we have very simple kind of format where I'll be sharing about Industry 4.0, brushing up what we discussed last week. And it's all about developing solutions mainly using IoT. So what I want to convey you, like I did last week, is always to be inspired to do your part. By your part, I mean developing something new, because those are the things that we need. Those are the things Sri Lanka needs from you. So today we'll be giving away 3 magic bit units to people who are coming up with creative projects using free resources. So pay close attention, and if you can learn this, and if you can search the internet and learn some new stuff, and if you're interested in this, developing solutions, solving problems in the world, then this is a very good place to start all that. And we'll be giving away 3 magic bit units to winners, and I will, at the end of the session, I will tell you how you can do that and what is the process you have to follow. It's a very simple thing. You just have to do a very simple thing, and if you can share your creative thoughts like that, definitely you can win a magic bit with us. So going forward now, let me check. Sorry, I just refreshed the session because I think I had a connectivity issue. Now you can see it on the screen. So last week we discussed about 4 industrial revolutions and why all these, why this current year or the current era is called the so-called Industry 4.0, and how the technology is transforming everything to become smarter. And then I explain what are the driving technologies in Industry 4.0. So I hope you remember that I mentioned that IoT is one of the driving forces of Industry 4.0. So that's why we are going to talk more about IoT and how we can develop certain solutions. So as I mentioned on the other day, adoption of IoT in the industries will pass 80% by 2024. So you can see it will be a widely used technology compared to today in the future world. And I'm pretty sure sometimes our children and sometimes parents might be listening to this. So not only children, even the parents who are going to do the jobs during this period, during this decade, we all will have to go through this transformation of technology. So that's why we have to be aware about it. And just to have now during the last session also, I had few quick questions from the audience for the audience. So this is also a question like that. Can anybody guess how many IoT devices will be connected to internet by 2025? You can put the answer in the chat. Let's see what are the answers. So how many devices will be connected to internet by 2025? Let's see the answers. Let me check the answers. Okay, there it goes. 13 billion, 80 billion, 75 billion, 13.8 billion. I think some of you have very accurately predicted those numbers. Maybe with a quick Google search, and that's really good. That's great, and I appreciate for answering that. So I think none of those answers are incorrect, because as of now, all these are predictions. We have certain predictions for the number of devices that will be connected. So all these are just predictions, and this is a similar prediction like this. I took this from a report, and it says number of connected devices will be over 30 billion, right? So some reports say it could be 100 billion. So there are different projections. So these projections have different numbers, but the idea is generally all of them says that it is rapidly increasing. So by 2025 or 2030, definitely world population is not going to become like 10 billion, right? So currently it is 7 billion. Mostly it will be like 7.5 billion or maximum 8 billion by another 10 years, right? So more than our population growth, the number of devices connected to the internet is tripling, and it is increasing massively. So that's the idea you have to take out of that. And I'm very happy that most of you are aware about that, and you know that devices are getting connected devices are getting increased. So last week also we discussed this architecture. I'm not going to go into details today, but just to remind you what's there with IoT. So IoT has 3 layers called things, or the connected devices, and the network layer or the gateway layer, and the cloud. So those are the 3 parts comprising in IoT. And by things we mean sensors or actuators that we are connecting. By gateway, we discussed that it's all about the communication technology that you are using. It could be mobile technology like 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, or it could be Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Zigbee, NFC, or I even explained that it could be a wired medium as well. So when we are and I think we had a couple of questions on the other day as well. So don't think too much about these 5G, 4G and all that. So all those are just connecting mediums, right? And the other part is the cloud. So we discussed that the cloud is there for data visualization, data storing, data aggregation. So handling data in the cloud is much more easier, and the cloud has certain advantages when it comes to handling things like this. So we discussed all of that on the other day. I'm sure there are children joining for the session in different age categories, ranging from age maybe 7, 8 to maybe to 18 or 19 or 20. So some of those young kids, if you are a very young child, sometimes you might not be able to understand what I'm saying in terms of some technical terms. So don't worry about that, right? So sometimes all of these things can be very quickly found by a simple Google search. So if I mention some words that you don't understand, don't worry about it. It's quite natural, and definitely you can figure it out. So I'm doing this suit to everyone. But in case if you don't understand, and if you are feeling anything to be explained more, just let me know in the comments. Then we can do during the Q&A session, that clarification part. So on the other hand, for today's session that I'm going to do, we need to know about the data protocols. So when we talk about this IoT, now you can see all these devices are, you know that all these devices are connected. It's a network. So when devices are talking to devices, there has to be a communication medium, right? Because devices or computers, you know that computers are using ones and zeros to communicate, right? So basically we have to have a certain communication protocol to communicate between devices, right? For that, there are certain things called protocols. So all these protocols are like the language that we are using, like English or Sinhala. So what all these communication protocols are doing is communicating between devices. For example, HTTP here, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, right? So it's a very common protocol used in the internet. So basically, to transfer data between servers and computers or any other connected devices to that server, we are using HTTP. Or MQTT is a similar protocol used in IoT mainly. So if you are keen about learning about communication protocols, you can definitely learn about those things. But when we are developing an application, sometimes you don't have to worry too much about these communication protocols, because most of the time there are versions of these things ready to use, right? So it can be you just have to be aware about how to use it only, right? Because most of the things, uh, most of the applications that we are developing, we have certain ways of using these protocols very easily, right? I'll show you during the session. So MQTT is a extremely lightweight messaging system to transfer data between remote devices. So it's not a very complex protocol that is transferring very large amounts of data like we have in internet, but it's a very lightweight. So basically we are sending a few messages, or we call it very small payloads. So what do we mean by that? Usually in IoT solutions, I think you all know that we have sensors, and maybe things like a temperature sensor, or maybe a proximity sensor, a certain sensor, or maybe certain sensors to capture weather data. So any of these things will capture certain data, a number, that if it's temperature, it's the number. If it's soil moisture, it's a number. So basically they will be transmitting small amounts of data. So for that transfer, we are using this MQTT protocol, and it's a messaging system basically. So what do I mean by publish subscribe messaging system? Usually what happens is, if I am using this, either I can publish a certain thing or I can subscribe to a certain thing. Now, you all are very familiar with subscribing to a YouTube channel, right? I am sure you are pretty much familiar about that. So this works in a very similar manner. So if you have subscribed to a YouTube channel, right? Let's say American Center has a YouTube channel called American Center, or Makerspace have a YouTube channel called Makerspace. If you subscribe for that, you receive notifications from them. When they post something, you receive a notification. So very similarly, this works like that. There's a message broker or a server, and you can publish a topic when you are using MQTT. There's a certain server, and as a client, you can, using their broker service or the messaging service, you can publish a topic, right? When you are publishing a topic, if some person has subscribed to your topic, that person can get that notification. So that's it. It works very simply. I'll show you along the way, then it will make more sense when I describe it to you during the practical session. So basically it works around topics. So basically you can give any name to a topic, and that's how it works. So usually I included this as well. So what are the components we have in application in IoT? So we have sensors, and we have gateways. We can have edge computing devices, and there's a certain part called dashboards as well. So when we talk about sensor nodes, so it could be parameter monitoring sensors, or it could be machines, humans, or here I have mentioned certain sensors that you can use in certain scenarios. For example, with environment, you can use temperature sensor, humidity, proximity, these things. With machines, you can use counters, and maybe energy meters. So there are certain things that you can use to measure parameters of machines. And with people, so with people you can use all these fitness bands, all the smart gear that we use have pressure, temperature, step count, all these heart rate and all that. Apart from that, if you need to monitor any animals like the endangered species, elephants, so you can track them using GPS, or the idea is for different applications you can use different sensors. So when you are selecting a sensor, you can consider certain things when it comes to practical applications. So based on the parameter, accuracy, reliability, you can get sensors. And usually all these sensors have a thing called a data sheet, and it includes how to capture, how to take out the data from the sensor, and how to handle the data, and what is the reliability level, accuracy level. All these things are there in a data sheet. And if you are developing an application for a practical problem, definitely you can get that. And for learning purpose, there are very low cost sensors you can use to certain things. And sometimes you don't have to buy any sensor at all, because for example, the smartphone that you are having have so many sensors, and I'll show you how you can use those sensors for applications as well. So when it comes to gateways, and gateways are usually used to take multiple or rather connect multiple sensors, and we can use them to aggregate data, collect data from different nodes and connect to any IoT solution. And there are things called edge computing devices. I think I explained that on the other day as well. Since the computing power of devices are increasing, the processing power is high in devices today. For example, the phone that I am using have the processing power of my computer I had in 2010. So everything is getting miniaturized. Because of that, we can have certain portions of data processing, data handling part that we usually do in cloud or any other server. We can do some of those parts very close to the sensor or the device end of these solutions, right? So that's what we are describing as edge computing devices. There are so many edge computing devices now, and it is very useful in automation, things like automations, because I hope you understand that when we are having a certain automation, if you are capturing a certain data, sending it to the cloud, make the decision there, and sending it back to the machine, then usually this cycle takes a certain time. It could be milliseconds, but it's time. And in case if there's a connectivity issue, the message will not come across. So the message will not be passed to the end device, right? So instead of doing that, in order to process data, we can have edge computing device where at the device end itself, it makes the data processing part, and we can even store data, aggregate data. So that's it. And on the other hand, there are things called dashboards. Now usually we are using dashboards to show data and or visualize data to others. When we are using all these sensors and all that in IoT, once we capture all this data, we should have a method to show that to people or to decision makers or the people who needs this data, right? So dashboards are used to visualize that, right? So with dashboards, you can see data very clearly, and that's how dashboards are used. And you can even integrate these things with systems like enterprise resource management, ERP, CRM systems, right? and no need to have all these dashboards in a cloud always. And sometimes you can simply use a single computer and implement a dashboard even in your computer, right? So no need to always go for these cloud services and all. But today it's very easy using cloud services, because all these cloud platforms that I'm going to show you will have we have very good visualization methods. Those are very easy. Otherwise, when you are developing it yourself, doing all these web referring to web frameworks, communication protocols, all those things could be very sometimes a bit difficult. So to brush up what we discussed so far, I had this question on the other day as well. So the 3 layers of IoT are the devices, network, and the cloud. And the applications in the industry. So what we are going to, what we can see today is, it could be producing for production and workload management, real-time decision making, and to identify remote maintenance, and for process optimization. So why are we using IoT industry? Basically to build better products and better solutions, achieve more efficiencies, to achieve high quality. For all that, we can use Internet of Things. So when it comes to use cases, I think I showed this a few times now to you now. There are certain predictions, but you can see here, what we have to learn from here is consumer segment, consumer devices, our vehicles, and our infrastructure services like power, water, and all that. So all those things are going to be connected to the internet in future. Even our so when our vehicle is connected to the internet, you can see how many devices will be connected because of vehicles only. So by 2030, that's why this number is increasing, the number of connected devices. So when we are designing a solution, so what we have to do, so this is a very important part in designing a solution, where first you have to identify what is the problem that you are going to solve. Secondly, you have to correctly identify what are the parameters that you need to capture in order to solve this, right? The third thing is designing the solution with hardware, software, and all that, then integrating it with cloud or other applications you are having, then run your solution, test and debug it. Then maybe if it's an industrial solution, you can do a pilot run, then come to the original solution. So when it comes to this cloud IoT platforms, this is a very essential, cloud is a very essential part in IoT, and it's a very good place to start your work as well. Because as I mentioned, we cannot, the cloud has many advantages when it comes to IoT and even the other application areas. So cloud IoT applications have many features that we can readily practice developing IoT solutions, because all these things are already there. Sometimes there's no need to reinvent the wheel and do all those things from the scratch. For example, what does the cloud IoT platforms do? You can do device management. That means adding devices, removing devices, modifying them, naming them differently. Then you can get the data and manage data according to your requirement. On the other hand, you can do application integration. You can integrate with other applications, and you can have more security for that as well, because many cloud IoT platforms, they have certain security features, and we can use them to effectively implement a solution with more security. Because I think I did not cover this part, but security is one of the major factors affecting IoT, and there are certain statements that most of the IoT solutions we have in the world right now do not have proper internet security. And when all these devices are getting connected, and now I think you all might have heard about computer hackers, how they are affecting to servers, how they are stealing money from banks, how they are stealing people's identities in social media and other things, right? I think you might have heard. So imagine what will happen when all these companies, machines, cars, our home devices, when everything is connected, what will happen if someone can sabotage those devices? So the effects are very highly risky. Repercussions will be there if that happens. And to tell you the truth, there were certain incidents like this in the past few years back, like millions of or thousands of IoT devices connected to certain networks were affected by attacks by certain parties, right? So security plays a major role here, and it is mostly the security part is handled by secured communication channels, and there are authentication methods for that. So there are certain ways we can handle that. But in today's session, and when we are learning about these things, no need to consider much about safety or security part, the internet security part, because that is very important when it comes to practical applications. So as I mentioned, device management part is one of the key areas in this IoT cloud platform. So I think when I do the practical session, it will make more sense. So let's move forward with this one. So I'm going to do today's session with magicblocks.io. It's a website. Basically, you can just go to just type magicblocks.io and go to the website, create an account there, and start doing stuff. It's very easy. It's an online platform. It's a software basically, and it's online. So basically, you don't have to install anything. Just go to the website and use it, right? So it's a cloud IoT platform. So it has features like it's a visual code builder where you can simply drag and drop stuff and make a solution according to your logic. But if you know programming and if you're interested, definitely you can custom program them and do certain stuff there, and you can develop simple applications very easily and even do complex stuff. And it's made for learning, so it is there for learning purpose. It's not for commercial purpose. MagicBlocks is a platform developed by us, by our team, by Sri Lankans. So currently it's available to anyone around the world, and it's a learning platform, and we have made it available free for everyone. So anybody can practice that. And even you can integrate hardware with that. I'll show you how you can do that. Especially our MagicBit hardware platform, you can do that. And yes, you can practice coding with that as well. And it has very complex, you can even do some complex stuff like image processing and social media integrations, all that using MagicBlocks, because it is actually made on a framework called Node-RED. Node-RED is an industrial framework, and that's because of that you can learn how to develop industrial grade solutions with this, handling hardware, handling inputs, outputs, APIs, all that. So that's it about this part. And up to now, if you have any questions, I think Nadeem can direct those questions to me, and I'll answer you. If I know the answers, I'll share with you.
Yes, Megara, we have 2 questions for now. Is IFTTT same as MQTT?
No. I think IFTT is a certain communication protocol. That is, I have seen this used in certain APIs. I'm not sure the use of that in IoT, but commonly we use MQTT in this one, and MQTT and HTTP. Other than that, IFTT and MQTT is not the same.
Yes, Megara. Another question, how to connect MagicBit board to MagicBlocks?
Yes, so now every MagicBit board like this, it can be connected to Wi-Fi. when you're setting up the device, you can simply connect it to Wi-Fi. Now this board is also connected to Wi-Fi. When the device is connected to the Wi-Fi, I'll show you in the following few demonstrations. I'll show you how to add the device. It's very easy. It's like it's basically can be added very easily. You just need something called a device ID, and you can do that. It's quite easy process. And when you're setting up the Magic Bit itself, you can do that.
Aisha is asking that whether the Magic Bit board is available in the market.
Yes, so currently now you can go to our website, and there our contact details are there, or else you can go to Magic Bit Facebook page, and you can drop a message there with your details, and our team will get back to you and send you a Magic Bit device, because we have actually temporarily closed our online shop these days, since we are moving forward with a global crowdfunding campaign. And so because of that only, we have closed the shop. Other than that, if you need a Magic Bit, you can get it right away. If you can drop a message in our Facebook page, or even through our contact numbers, then we can send you one right away. You can receive it like in 1 or 2 days. Yes.
Can we use Magic blocks to program Arduino Uno?
Currently, Magic Blocks, you cannot use it to program Arduino Uno. You cannot use it as of now.
What's the difference between MQTT and HTTP?
So basically, both of these things are communication protocols. Now, HTTP is much more commonly used one, and you can use it for even for heavy payloads. And it basically all these communication protocols are certain ways of formatting data to send via internet to between from a computer to a server or to another computer, right? So MQTT and HTTP, when we are sending data through internet, we are sending data packets, right? So data is broken down to certain parts, and it goes as simple messages, right? So each of these messages have a certain certain architecture or a certain layout. Let's say when you are sending an email, it has this subject, from, to, CC, then you have a message body part. Simply, I think you have seen when you are sending an email, you have these parts. Similarly, in every communication protocol, there's a format like this to send data. Now, with MQTT and HTTP, these formats could be different. That's it, right? So other than that, both are communication protocols, and MQTT, we call it a very lightweight protocol where you can send simple data very easily.
Is there any warranty for Magic Bit device?
So basically, when you are buying development boards or learning platforms from the market, you don't receive any warranty actually, because you can play with it, you can do whatever the things. But for the open market selling products, we are not giving a warranty usually. But again, if it breaks, if something happens, or if it's not working properly, definitely we'll be able to help you, because we have developed this from the scratch. And if there's anything we can do, we'll definitely support you to figure it out, or maybe to repair it. We can support it. Yes.
One question from Anfas: how could Cloud OS working?
Cloud OS?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you have meant by that question. I think cloud. So basically, OS is an operating system which we usually run in a computer, a thing like Windows, or maybe the Apple computers have Mac OS. So operating systems are for computers, and cloud is basically now cloud is a decentralized computer system. Now even the cloud also comprise of different computers. So all these computers, even in the cloud servers, they have operating systems like OS, right? So I think you might have heard about Linux operating system. So some of them have Linux, some of them have Unix. So there are certain operating system and cloud are two different parts actually.
Can we connect Node MCU to Magic Block?
Yes, Node MCU. Now when you are using hardware, Magic Blocks is available for any hardware platform which has ESP32 system on chip. So basically it's a any microcontroller board which has ESP32. There's a chip called ESP32. So any of them using that can readily be integrated with Magic Blocks.
Can I use Magic Bit for image classification?
Image classification, Magic Blocks, I have to check and verify that. There are certain blocks in Magic Blocks for image processing activities, you can do that. But readily using the Magic Bit development board, you cannot do that because we do not have a camera inbuilt. And on the other hand, we cannot process we cannot do that sort of image processing work using simply a microcontroller like in our one. But using platforms like Magic Blocks, cloud platforms, you can do certain image processing parts. But this image classification, I'm not sure. I have to check on that.
With the Magic Bit, we will get a 3 months coupon. After it expired, we can connect. We can't connect.
Actually, we send a coupon code because we restricted the use in Magic Blocks. But currently, you don't need any coupon. You can just simply use the Magic Blocks platform. It will not, your account will not be terminated. And you can readily use it without any coupon or any code. So because Magic Blocks is an open platform for everyone. So even though you are buying a Magic Bit hardware like this, or if you are not buying one, that doesn't matter. You can simply use Magic Blocks platform. It's readily available for anyone.
Can we use Max 300 sensor with Magic Bit board?
Now it's like this. Now Magic Bit is a development board. So any sensor you have, you can integrate that with Magic Bit development board. Now in our Magic Bit platform, there are certain ports made for sensors we have developed, where you can simply plug and play with them. Other than that, if you have any sensor available in the market, I'm pretty sure you are aware about the output pins of that sensor. So if you can refer to the data there, you can see what is the inputs needed for the sensor and what are the output parameters of the sensor. And you can integrate that using to Magic Bit, because Magic Bit, we have a large extension port at the bottom of the board. And so this one, so using that, you can actually connect any sensor or any other thing to the Magic Bit development board. Yes.
Can we use Magic Bit with Firebase?
Firebase, now Firebase, it depends on the application that we are developing. So if you are using Firebase to develop a certain application, and I'm pretty sure that Firebase you are using for app development, when you are developing apps, and you can use certain APIs, certain protocols to handle the data that you are getting through other devices, right? So if you are using that, definitely you can integrate it with Magic Bit and all these Magic Blocks platforms and all that.
Can we use Magic Bit as Raspberry Pi board?
Sorry, I didn't get your question, Adi.
Can we use Magic Bit as Raspberry Pi board?
So basically, Magic Bit is a development board, and Raspberry Pi is a single board computer, right? So a Raspberry Pi can run a lightweight operating system on the board. For example, I think you have seen that you can run Linux operating system on a Raspberry Pi board. It has higher processing power, storage, and all that. Basically, Raspberry Pi is not a microcontroller development board, right? So it's a single board computer. Microcontroller development boards are things like Arduino, Microbit, Magic Bit. All these things are called microcontroller development boards. So these things have a processor which can be programmed, right? But Raspberry Pi, for the purpose that you are using Raspberry Pi, you cannot use usually these things, but certain parts of course you can do. So certain parts you can do by using any of these platforms, using Raspberry Pi or maybe Magic Bit. So you can do certain parts, but it's not a one-to-one replacement.
Yes, Migaru, you can go ahead.
Yeah. So during this session, what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate you how to use Magic Blocks to develop stuff. So I'll quickly go to the website. I think you can already see. So before that, I think it's better to show everyone how you can create a Magic Blocks account. So it's quite simple. So go to magicblocks.io website. Once you go there, there are certain details like this. So what you can do is you can simply sign up from here. You have to enter your name. If I enter my name, I can enter my email here, and I have to set a password, right? So once I set the password and all, you have to sign up. So it's quite similar to creating an email account, or maybe creating any other account in an online platform. So once you sign up here, you will receive an email to your inbox. So there will be an activation link. So if you click that activation link, then your account will be activated, right? So once it's activated, you will be directed to a place like this. I will log in from, then you can log in. So once you log in, you will be directed to a place like this, right? So it has 3 areas like playground, device manager, subscriptions. So basically the things that you will be using is device manager and playground. So I think you remember I mentioned about device manager. So this has all the devices that I have added, right? And I think right. So you can see this device that I have added. I can change the device. Let's make a space. So using a device manager, I can give whatever the name that I need to give for the device. I can add a description. I can select the device type, and I can do certain stuff. So here I have added a Magic Bit device here, and you can see it is active. You can see the connection. The green color is blinking because I have connected the device to this platform here. So how you can usually connect that is, you can go to add device when you are so you can see here we have Magic Bit, you have generic ESP32 platform. You can select any of these things, and this device ID, you have to configure it in the hardware platform. You have to program the hardware platform with this device ID, and in this cloud platform here, you have to mention the name that you are going to give, the type, and you can save changes and add any device like this. So once it's added, you can see here. So using this platform, you can manage the devices. So if you have multiple magic bits, if you have magic bit, NodeMCU and any other platform here, then you can add and remove those things. You can rename and do changes for those things, right? So that's the idea of a device manager, right? And this playground part here, now it is basically the place where you'll be doing the programming part, right? So once you go there, usually you can, once you go there, basically you will have to start the playground first. So once you have started the playground, you will be getting something like this. Click here to open the playground. So if I go and open the playground there, it is the place, playground is the place where I can drag and drop different code blocks and create a solution, right? So let's wait until it loads. Okay. So once you come here, it's all about now, of course, I have certain stuff here in my account. So no need to save stuff. If you have done any project or anything, just you can leave it right there. Even after you log in, after maybe after a couple of days, everything will be here, right? So no need to worry about the power outages or internet problem or anything. Everything is automatically saved in your account. So if you need to create something new, you can create an additional flow like this, and you can create multiple flows like this. You can see I have created a lot of stuff, and I have never deleted anything here. So even in a certain flow, you can add things like this and have it all here, right? So everything you are doing will be here. And so you can create multiple projects, you can give meaningful names for them, and you can leave it all here. Then you can refer to them later, right? Right. So right now I just created a new flow from here, from this plus sign here. And you can see there are different code blocks and everything is named here. So you can see input. So all these things you can use for input parameters. And there are places, there are ways you can use outputs, right? So you can have output to display data. So there are functions. So I think you have, some of you might have little knowledge about programming. So functions are for to give logic to a thing that you are using. For example, if you have certain data, if you need to decide something, you can do that. And you can see there are social media integrations like emails, Twitter. So basically you can send a tweet using these platforms. You can send an email notification to a person. Let's say if there's a sensor value like a light sensor, if the light value or the temperature value goes beyond a certain limit, you need to send an email to someone, you can do that. And yes, for mobiles, there are certain parts. So and there are generic blocks like this. And for magic bit, we have included a different set of ones. So for example, to send a notification to magic bit development board, or if you want to display something. And for everything here, analog in, digital in, out, everything is here. Apart from that, you can see there are integrations for Google Smart Home. So basically you can even download the Google Smart Home app and integrate that with Magic Blocks platform. And there's a thing called Nora, and there's these blocks are for dashboard. So basically you can develop a very nice dashboard. I'll show you an example. So basically you can develop, I think most of you would be very delighted to develop a dashboard like this, right? So all these things are very simple stuff you can do, simple, or rather I would say not that much complex, right? Otherwise I will be, you might think that I am exaggerating things. So it's not that much complex. So all these, now these are not actual figures. I have now we have included random figures here just to show the movement here and there, but you can have the sensors to do this. So if I quickly demonstrate you something now, from the dashboard part here, I will get a new gauge, and from the input side I will take something like this, and yes, let's try to connect these two and show the data. So when I take a block like this, you can see in the right hand side, you can see what does this node do, and you can see the information about the node. And if you double click on the node, you can go for the configuration part here. So here I can think I will have to. So here group is you can create a new group, or either I will add it to an existing one just to show you this quickly. So gauge I will add it to one group and save it. So timestamp also. Timestamp is basically it's an injector node. Okay. So simply you can connect these two. So once you have done something here, yeah. So once you have done something here, you have to deploy it to activate what you have done, right? So once it's deployed, you can see successfully deployed, right? So I'll go to that dashboard which was there earlier, and you can see I think I have added that to the bottom part here. You can see, I hope you can see a number there in the last part, and this is the one I just included here. So I actually added it to an existing dashboard to show you. So all these things here were existing before, and I just added this part newly. So I think it shows a meaningless value because I just included the timestamp value in the gauge, but it will make it will make more sense when I proceed with the other things. Let me see, not here, just to show you a simple one. No. Okay, yeah. So not only just pushing a value, I'll demonstrate you how to, or let's go forward with, let's develop now. When we are saying all these IoT things, now we can develop certain things using our mobile as well. So here basically what I wanted to show you is every block you can see the documentation part and everything here, and there are pop-ups, there's information, so you can use this to handle data and create stuff. So even without having hardware like MagicBit, NodeMCU, anything, you can develop stuff here by adding certain blocks, right? So let's create an application, or rather a method to show the data in a chart. I think you saw that I have included these here. So I will quickly remove these gauges. So it will yeah, yes. All right. So if you have changed anything here, you have to deploy it, then only it will be activated. I'll quickly show you that dashboard, then you can see nothing is here now, right? I think one chart is there. I have included it. Here, that chart. Right. So what I'm going to do is, okay. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to share my screen in the mobile. Then I will show you how to set up that MQTT protocol using a mobile phone. So basically, you can go to Play Store. Currently, we have this Android version only. So you can search Magic Blocks. And you can see this app and you can install that app. Then what this does is, this can be used to get data from your mobile phone to any IoT application that you are developing. Because as I mentioned earlier, if you do not have hardware, then you might be thinking, oh, I don't have any hardware, now I have to buy this stuff. So no need to buy something separately. Now your smartphone already have that. So basically, you can see accelerometer, you can get the data from here. If it's a gyroscope, it has proximity sensor, light sensor, right? So let's do a quick practical to get the data from your mobile to an application that you are doing in Magic Blocks. So how you can do that? First, you have to configure the Magic Blocks mobile app. So when you are doing that, you just have to go to these settings here. Now you can see a broker name here. I think you can see this broker.hivemq.com, right? So this is a server that we are accessing to handle this MQTT protocol. So in our mobile app, we are using that MQTT protocol I told you. So basically, you just have to, this is a free service available to anyone to use. There are free MQTT servers like this. So you can use it for your applications as well. So basically, you just have to type here broker.hive.mq.com. Now, if you are not noting it down, don't worry. Everything is available even in our website. If you go to MagicBit website, there are tutorials how to use our mobile app, and there are tutorials how you can use it. So don't worry about it. You don't need to learn this by heart or noting it down. Everything is available in the internet. So apart from that, you can see I have published topic and subscribe topic. That means when I am publishing a topic like this, I can send data through this topic to everyone out there in the internet. So basically, now this is a learning platform I told you earlier. Because of that security part is not that much good here, since I am not using a username password also in this one. If I'm using an username and password also, I can add more security here. And when I'm publishing a topic like here, I have let's give make a space 1. Make Magic Blocks Maker 1. So when you are giving a name, please make sure to give not a very common name, because what will happen is, now since you are using a free service like this broker hivemq.com, if you are giving a common name, let's say it's like light or just some common word, what will happen is there will be thousands of topic published in the internet by others all around the world using that topic. Now if you try out with these topics in the internet, you can receive very funny information actually. So make sure to give a very unique name. That's why I gave it as Emblo Maker 1. So once I have done that, I have to save the changes. So other parts you don't have to worry that much. So what I can do is, so let's say I selected light. You can see the light level is changing. Basically the light sensor is in the top part of the phone. So what happens is, when you are taking your phone to your ear, the screen goes off usually, right? I think you have seen. Other than that, when you are going out, the brightness is auto adjusted. So the light sensor is used for that one. You can see the luminance here. When I am changing, when I am covering the sensor, that value is getting low. If I give it more light, you can see the value is increasing, right? So now we'll be playing around with this one. So what I'm going to do is, now I have configured this mobile app. Now I'm going to use it in my Magic Blocks platform. So what I'm going to do is, basically so in order to do this, now I have to have an input, right? So I will have MQTT input here. So what it does is get the data connecting to the MQTT topic that I used, same as my mobile phone. And there's a certain part here called now all this data send it between this Magic Blocks mobile app and this one using a thing called JSON blocks. So JSON is a part of JavaScript actually. So basically what it does is, it formats the data in a certain way. You can send it, so you don't have to worry that much about it. You can simply use it like this. So when we are using a JSON block, I will show you that thing. So basically when you are using this, let's have a debug window here. So when you have a debug window, what happens is you can see the data coming out of that block. Oh, sorry. So what we can do is, now you can see here, there's something red on this block. So this small triangle. So what does it tell you? You have to configure this one, right? So I am going to configure this one. I think you remember that I used the broker.hivemq.com. So I am going to have the same broker here. So I think you remember the topic that I have had. Honestly, I don't remember the topic I configured here. Emblo Maker 1. So I'm going to have the same thing here, right? So once I have done this, I have to deploy this one again. So I'm going to deploy it. So you can see it's connected. Right. Give me a minute. My mobile phone is getting connected. So when you are using the mobile app, always make sure that your phone has a internet connection. You don't necessarily have to be in the same network, but you have to make sure that your phone has an internet connection so it can communicate with the device, with the cloud platform, and transfer data. So let's see. Okay, now I'm connecting that. Sometimes it might take a bit of time to connect this one to the application. So meanwhile, I think if you have questions, Nadi, we can answer them right away until I get this connectivity. Until this thing is getting connected, we can. If you have any questions, I can answer, Nadi.
Yes, Migara. One question, Migara. When increasing the sensors or adding more commands to Magic Bit platform, do they have to pay?
When increasing, I didn't get your question. Sorry.
When increasing the sensors or adding more commands to Magic Bit platform, do they have to pay? Do they have to pay for that?
No. So Magic Blocks is, as I mentioned earlier, Magic Blocks is a free platform. So basically, you can have a what do you call? You can do anything with that, and you don't have to pay for that one. So basically, it's a free platform. So you can add any number of things. There are no limitations actually.
So many questions, Migara, regarding the price of this device.
So Magic Bit development board is actually the basic one without additional sensors is 4,950. So once you buy that, you have inbuilt sensors like the light sensor, the potentiometer is there, buzzers, LEDs, push buttons, everything, and there's a large display as well. So everything is inbuilt. And if you need any additional sensors, there's a pack with additional 10 sensors. It comes at 10,500 rupees.
One question, Migara.
Yeah.
Do they have to pay monthly revenues to? It's like a sub. The question is, should we have to subscribe to Magic Blocks monthly?
No. As I mentioned before, now we do not have currently. We are not charging anyone for using Magic Blocks. It's actually a free platform. There's a paid version actually. So the difference between paid version and the free one is in the free one, the session time is usually 1 hour. So that means after 1 hour, your playground here, I think I will show you. So you can see here, this playground is working here. Playground is working. So this thing will stop after 1 hour, but you can again restart it from here and use it. So there's no limitation at all. We have done that just to, because since this is an open platform to everyone around the world. So if we have it going indefinitely, somebody can use it even for a commercial purpose. So that's why we have stopped it. Other than that, there's no license you have to buy monthly. You can use it freely without any problem.
Another question, Migara. Do we need to always open Magic Blocks app when we use the phone as an input device?
Yes. Now, if you are using the phone, now you can run the application in the background as well. You don't have to have the app always on the screen, right? But you have to open the app and make sure it is connected to the internet, and you have to run it. Yes.
How many digital inputs can Magic Bit take?
So basically, I think Magic Bit now again. Now, I think if I go to that slide here, if you see the Magic Bit here, you can see there are 4 slots like this, and there's an extension port here as well. So basically, when it comes to digital inputs, digital analog inputs, digital outputs, analog outputs, now all these things are configurable in platform in any development board. So you can configure it according to your requirements. You can configure this. Since there's an extension port here as well, you can even extend that. So basically, for your needs, it's quite sufficient. But if you need any additional parts, definitely you can extend it and use it as well. So don't worry about the number. You can have as much as you want, basically.
Yes, Megaru, we can go ahead with the presentation.
Okay. So basically what I was trying to achieve here is, now I connected this with the MQTT broker here, and I hope you remember I used the MQTT block from the inputs here. So it connects to a server and get the data. Then I use this JSON block here. So what it does is it converts the JSON object that we are using to communicate in this protocol to a meaningful one. Then I use this debugging module here just to have the value displayed to you. So that's what I did here. So I will now the main part when it comes to applications like this is the connectivity, because you can see here okay, I think my phone is not getting connected here. Let's see. So what happens is, if you are not receiving data, that means that you have a certain problem either with the communication protocol or with the configuration here. Let me quickly try to debug that. So until I debug that, I will show you another one using yeah, I think I had this practice one with the yeah, let's have a HTTP request one. It's also very easy. So not only this one, you can use HTTP as well. Now when we are using HTTP, for what purpose we are using it is HTTP request. Let me. Okay, you can go to the function block and get the HTTP request one here. You can have an inject block to manually push data. So what inject does does is, so it can be used to trigger data. So basically act as a switch. So if you go to this HTTP one, you can see I can get data. So one of the very common ones you can use is this COVID one. So basically you can get any API in the internet for this one. For this one, I will be using the one we have in the Health Bureau for to identify the COVID statistics, right? So if I get this one here, copy the endpoint here, you can see get HTTPS this one, and I can add it here, right? So that's it, and I can edit here, and again I will have that JSON part. So what this JSON part does is, so once I get the data, once I get the data, it transforms it to a meaningful form so I can see the data. So now I added this debugging one just to show you the data, right? So debugging, so there will be a debugging window, then I can see the data. So I will deploy it here. Right. So now okay, so you can see, so I will clear this one again. Now I am connecting, now I am sending a HTTP request to this Health Protection Bureau website API, and I am retrieving this data. So in that one, I will be receiving this JSON block or the API payload. So I am checking what I am receiving here using this debugger mode, right? So I am going to trigger this one. Let's see what is happening in this one. So you can see it's a success and I'm getting a message. So let's see what is in this message. Oh, it has some data, right? So let's see what is the data in there. So you can see updated time, local new cases, total new cases, likewise individuals, local active cases, everything is there. So let's see how we can demarcate some data here. So for that one, the easiest way is to use a function. So for that one, so you can simply now all these things are coming as message.payload part, right? You can see it here as well, message.payload, right? So what I'm going to do is message.payload equals message.payload dot, I think you can see here all this data. Here we have this object here, and the under the tag data we have new cases, total cases, likewise. So let's have data here, then local deaths. So I hope you understand the logic where I just observe what I have received in this payload at first, and depending on the data I saw that it is coming as message payload. So under the payload there are different sections like this data here. So I selected that and I included it with a dot, and under the data I have different data. So I again pick a random tag here called local deaths, right? So that's it. So I included that logic here, and I will save it. And now I'm going to have this debugger mode connected to this function block, not the one I used earlier. So let's see what's happening. Okay, I'm going to clear the debugger mode. I think you saw some errors popping up. That happened because I earlier had a okay. Let's check. There's an error coming. I think error, yes, that's correct. Can I Message below, type error, cannot read property. Okay, you can see that in this debugger mode, if there's a problem in my any of the blocks, I'm getting certain errors, but don't worry about those things. Sometimes between the errors as well, you can get the data that we are doing. So let's not worry about that. I will quickly, I think you can see here, I will again push the data. I think you can see here 3157. It quickly comes and goes as okay. For that one, I will include the display and show you the data, so it will be much more easier. Let's have it in a dashboard or something like that. Then it is much more easier for you. So yeah, so let's have text here. Okay. Right, I'm going to, so you can, as you can see here, I can even connect it to any chart as well. So if I need to have it in a chart on a daily basis, I can add that into a chart as well. So I just have to select what is the one that I am using, what is the group that how I am grouping this one. So once you have done all that, you have to deploy it again. I think, yeah, so we'll go to this one. Yeah. Let me quickly change this one as well to a repeating one. Right, so you can try out different stuff like this. So what I am doing, what I did was earlier I was manually pushing data. So instead of that, I included here repeatedly to send that notification. So you can see here now I am receiving the total deaths. Now every second I am receiving, right? So if there's a death reported there, I am real time, I get the real time update, right? So you can see here now this is the chart that I just included. So it has the text value here 3157, and you can see it's constant here because it gives the same value here, right? So just to show you the idea, you can have a chart like this, you can have a graph like this, even you can have a text like this. Anything is anything can be easily done. So that's the idea, right? I hope I made it very clear. So what I did in this activity was I am sending sorry, I am sending a request to a API. I am retrieving that data and I am displaying it in a chart or as text or in a chart, right? So let's quickly okay, let's try out this one again as well. I'm going to remove the debugger part here and add here. Let's try out the mobile one again. Okay. Emblow maker, HiveMQ, same thing. So what I have done in this application is I configured my mobile using the same MQTT broker here, and I include the topic I configured in my phone, the same one here. So usually once I have done that, I can get the data from my phone here to this application very easily. So you can see it takes like 5 minutes to do that. So what I'm trying to achieve here is I included this debugging block again here as well. You can find this debugger block here, debug here. So what I'm trying to do is the data that I'm receiving from my phone, I'm trying to display it in the same way I did in the last one with the healthcare bureau data, right? So let me quickly close the so what happened earlier was I had an issue in connecting to the MQTT server with my phone. Let's try this again. I think you can see something now. Yes. So I think you can see here now same thing is happening. Now I connected the debugger one. Let's take this. So you can see all these things can be drag and dropped in any manner you want. So now what I have done is you can see some data is coming here. So what I have done here is I configured the mobile app. I configured this block with the same MQTT broker. I had this JSON one. You don't need any configuration for this one. Just have it as it is. So I added this debugger one to see whether I am receiving data. So you can see here, now I am receiving data. So let's go to this. Okay. Illuminance, I am receiving some data. So now it's very ugly. Let's make it more readable like we did in the last one. So what I'm going to do is, so this happens because as we mentioned earlier, all this data is coming as similar to an email that we are getting. Now we are seeing only the brief of the email that we have in our inbox. I think you have seen only a line you can see, right? If you expand only, you can see the other data. So right now what I'm going to do a similar thing. I'm going to do a similar thing where I will be expanding the other parts in that message. So in this one, you can see message payload. The one that I have to do is, you can see the data is coming as light sensor. So I will add light sensor dot. If I go to the light sensor one, you can see data is coming as illuminance. So say I can simply copy and paste that to avoid any spelling mistake. So I do that and I deploy it, right? Now I will clear the debugging console. So you can see very clearly the sensor value is coming. So I will quickly cover the sensor in my phone. So you can see a very low value is coming. Now the value is 0. Now I will add more light to my phone. I think you can see it comes as 32, right? So you can see it changes when I add more light or if I cover the sensor. So that's how it works. So similarly, you can try out. I will share the screen with my phone as well. So it will be more, it will become more clear to you. So what's here is, you can see here, this is the light sensor value that I am receiving in my phone. When I cover this one, the value is getting low. If I add more light, you can see the value is changing to a higher number. So I am reading this one through my mobile phone and getting to Magic Blocks in the way that I have done. So again, all these tutorials are available in our website. right? So that's it. I think it is very clear to you how you can do that yourself. It's quite easy. So let's do a quick practical with Magic Bit as well. So I will take just 10 minutes to do this one to show you how easy it is, right? So 2 practicals I have done here. So I will quickly, I think I did one with now one with our mobile phone. Then I demonstrated you how to use our so any web-based API, how you can use that I just showed you. So I will quickly show you how you can use MagicBit as well. So MagicBit, as I mentioned earlier, I have connected the MagicBit board to Wi-Fi. So once you have connected that, I will quickly have an injector one here, and then I will go to the MagicBit blocks. Let's have analog input. So if you go to the I can select the LDR also there, right? So I will interrupt method. So device name I will give it to as make a space. I can give any name. Device ID is the ID I copied earlier. So if you want to find the device ID, I'll quickly show you. You can go to the device manager, and in device manager you can see the device ID here. So I just copied that one earlier and used it here, right? So I have this one, right? And yeah, so connect it to this one, and maybe I can have a chart for that one. So I will, I think with the gauge, with the donut chart, it shows better. So I'm going to have a repeating timestamp here. So what this timestamp does is it pushes the data from every second through this one. So I think I configured this correctly. So I'm quickly going to deploy this one. I think I did not. I think you can see here in the gauge there's a red color sign. So that means I have not configured it properly. So let's put it to a group here. Okay. Basically what does this group does is, I think you saw I have different dashboards. So I am grouping them in different formats so I can see the data in different dashboards. Okay, we have done this, and let me quickly show you what I'm doing with this one. I hope you can see me. So you have this MagicBit here. You can see I have connected to the LDR. You can see the value here as well. When I'm covering the LDR, the value is getting low. And in the gauge, when I am using something like this, I will set the maximum value to a higher one, deploy it again. Okay, now let's go to the dashboard and see what has happened. Okay, you can see the gauge is there now. When I am covering the MagicBit sensor there, you can see the gauge value is getting low. Again, the one that is where with the healthcare bureau is also here, the one we did, right? So when I remove, so I add more light to the sensor here, you can see it is the value is getting increased in real time. When I cover it again, the value is decreased, right? So it is happening real time. I think you just saw I started it around 2 minutes back, and in 2 minutes I can simply do that. And of course, if you want to change the sensor, let's say to the potentiometer, you can simply change it from here and save it. And potentiometer is the one we have here in the MagicBit. So you can see I can change the values again in this one as well, right? So those things are quite easily can be done. Think I have not deployed that. Yes, so once I have done this, one way you can make sure that your solution is working, you can see the values are changed here as well. You can see, okay, well, let's go to the dashboard. So now it's in the maximum level, so let's reduce it. I think you can see there, right? So I hope you get the idea. You can develop certain stuff like that very easily using this MagicBlocks platform. So let's move on to our presentation again. Now I just demonstrated you few examples how we can do stuff. So I'll quickly run through the presentation, what we can do and how our giveaway is going to work. So I think every one of you can develop stuff like this. You all can solve problems in the world we have right now. And if you do so, you will be like this blue shell here, where among everyone, you will be a special person and you will be standing out in the industry or even between the other students because you are a problem solver. So how you can start? Please refer to the free resources I mentioned and follow the online content. All these tutorials are available in magicbit.cc. So you can do those, you can follow these things. And I just showed you that to do IoT, even without hardware, you can start off doing stuff, handling the APIs, connecting stuff like that. So I think on the other day as well, I told this one. So you can start small and scale it up. You don't need any investment for this one at first. And there are millions of applications basically. So I guess, right, I think I have a small video clip here. It's not playing properly. Let me try to play that video for you. Okay. Okay. Why is that video is not playing? Just give me a minute. I'm trying to show you a very nice video of few applications. Yeah. So that's it, a few applications using MagicBit. So as I mentioned earlier, MagicBit is a platform with hardware, the software. You can even program it with Arduino, Scratch, MicroPython, C#, anything on earth. If you are an enthusiast about programming and all, you can try out other platforms as well, but you can readily, very easily using the mobile phone I just showed you, the Magic Blocks app and the hardware we have with MagicBit. So, and we are going for a crowdfunding campaign to take MagicBit all around the world. So we are trying to take it from Sri Lanka to the world. For support for that cause as well, go by subscribing in our website. So how you can get a MagicBit by becoming a winner today. So as I showed you, now this is not just a lecture that I did, right? So I showed you how you can start developing stuff. So do a project yourself, right? So if you have done that, do a screen record it, or just simply using a mobile phone record that, or maybe write an article about it, or take few photos about it, right? So use any format and show us some evidence that you have done, a video, a photo, an article, or something like that, right? And post it in social media, in Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We are on every platform, right? And we are with the same name as MagicBit 0, right? MagicBit, not MagicBit O. At any social media platform, you can tag MagicBit as @MagicBit 0, right? So you can use the tag us there and use the hashtag IoT with MagicBit. Once you have done that, we will check what are the best projects done by students, and we'll be selecting 3 winners, and for them we'll be giving a free MagicBit unit worth 4,950 rupees, right? So let's get your hands dirty and do something and start doing something, developing your first IoT project. Do it without hardware. Don't think too much. Don't try to develop a very complex thing at first. Do a simple thing and do a simple application and post it like this in any social media. Now, I know small children, some of you might not have Facebook accounts. That's understandable. So use any of the accounts of your father, mother, or any other adult, and ask them to post it on behalf of you, right? So then you can trace it. Then we can trace it. Otherwise, it will be difficult for us to trace what you have done. So get the help from your parents and post it in social media. Use @MagicBit0 and use the hashtag IoT with MagicBit, right? So that's it. Then we will select 3 winners. You have to do this before 10th of July, right? We want all of you to try out something new. That's why we are telling this instead of having just ideas or a normal contest, right? I think you all might find it very interesting to do stuff like this. So by doing all this, what we are trying to encourage you is to start your first IoT project. So that's the idea. Start a project yourself, and that's where your first step comes into play. And thank you. That's about today's session, and that's what I wanted to cover during the session. I think I made it clear to every one of you. So you can check out our websites, MagicBlocks, magicbit.cc, and my email is here. So you can note down, and I will include my number here as well. So this is my number. So you can note it down if it's interest to you. If you need any information, you can simply call me or WhatsApp me. So that's it. I think, Nadi, we can go to the final question round. So if you have anything, just post here, or maybe you can contact me later as well. Nadi?
Yes, Mikaru, we have a lot of questions actually. First question, where I can get the MagicBit board preference link for Arduino IDE?
Okay, now it's like this. Now, when you are using MagicBit board, so you can program it with using Arduino software as well. Now, I think you know that in Arduino software, you can add hardware platforms, and it can be a MagicBit board can be simply added there, and you can program MagicBit using the Arduino normal software that you are using. So everything is there. You can go to our website, magicbit.cc, and go to the learn there, and there's a separate section called learn in the Arduino. There's a separate section in the learning part called Arduino, And from setting up the IDE to programming it, everything is there.
Yes, next question. Can I know MagicBit has an API to connect my own Android app?
MagicBit has an API. It's like this. Now, MagicBit is a platform which can be connected to the internet. It readily connects to internet. So basically, if you are developing your own app, it's all about handling a protocol. In the same way that I just showed you, you can use a HTTP, you can use HTTP protocol, or you can simply use MQTT. The one I just showed you, use a free broker that's out there, connect the MagicBit board with MagicBlocks and retrieve the data via MagicBlocks to the app that you are using, right? So it can be simply done.
How to connect the MagicBit board to Wi-Fi?
So now it's all about setting up the MagicBit board. When you are setting up the MagicBit board, you have to give few parameters. The one is the device ID I just showed you. So you can generate a device ID in MagicBlocks and give it to your MagicBit platform. And when you are giving that, you can insert the Wi-Fi password that you have in your home to MagicBit with MagicBit. So it's similar to connecting your mobile phone or laptop to the internet. You just have to plug in the MagicBit board. You have to power it up, and then you can configure it very easily. It's quite easy, and setting up guide is there in our website. Setting up will take about 2 to 3 minutes maximum. Yes.
There is one complaint for you, Megara.
Yeah.
I asked the code for that robot arm, but I still not received that.
Okay, so if you are keen about developing that robot arm, so I think my email is here. So simply drop me an email what you have done. So if you have already have the now this robot arm is a 3D printed one. So if you have already printed one, so tell us what you have done so far. Then I'll give you the direction and I'll give you the code. We are not hiding anything. And if you need a certain code, and we will help you. And if you need something from here, we'll definitely give you. No problem at all. So just drop me an email with what you have done, because if you don't have the robot arm, there's no point of having the code, right? And if you are keen on studying the code, then definitely I can send the code even without a robot arm. No worries. Just drop me an email.
I think it's better, Megara, if you can tell another time for where they have to upload their final projects.
Yeah, so final project, Nadi, what they have to do is, as I mentioned here, you can do your project, take some photos, or maybe you can video record it, or maybe you can write a small description about it, what you have done with this one, right? And include a small photo, right? And post it in social media, right? In Facebook, Instagram, or maybe you can, I know some children have YouTube channels, so you can upload it. The best thing is, the easiest method is upload it to Facebook. If you do not have an account, use your parents' account. Ask your parents to post it on behalf of you, and don't forget to tag as @MagicBit0 and use the hashtag IoT with MagicBit. If you post it in social media in Facebook and tag our MagicBit team as @MagicBit, you can tag it. I think you already know about this, and add the hashtag IoT with MagicBit. So if you do those two things in social media, we can see it all. So based on that, we will evaluate it, right? It's quite easy. You don't have to upload it to anywhere. You just have to post in social media, tag MagicBit, then we will find it and we will evaluate. Is it clear, Nadi?
Yes, it's very clear.
Okay.
What's the MagicBit board input voltage range?
So basically, I think you can see on the screen here as well. If you look very closely, you can see it's 3.3 volts. So basically, if you have any 5 volt anything close to 5 volts or something, you just have to pull down with a resistor and connect it to the Magic Bit board.
Yes, Migara, we don't have any question, anything further. So do you have anything to say, or we can wind up the session?
Okay, so then I think then it's time to conclude the session, Nadi. So again, I must thank everyone here in this session, the students who came here today and for being with us with all these 2 hours. I think I tried to give you the message to do something, to innovate new things, and I tried to show you how you can do it yourself. And I hope that I inspired you to do that, and my content will be supportive for you to start that. And I really thank American Center for doing this and taking this initiative to aware our future generation about technology. And my special thanks goes to Sanjay, Nadi, and Ranjan, the team in American Center, for inviting me for this session and giving an opportunity for our team Magic Bit to show the local talents of our team to a wider audience. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone for being a very nice audience. And over to you, Nadi.
Thank you so much, Migara. This was amazing session. We gathered a lot of things from you. Thank you so much once again for the valuable time from you. So for the audience, thank you so much for being with us through the session. Before wind up the session, I have a few announcements to give you. You can win amazing gift. We already mentioned that to you. But what you have to do is you have to complete your project, and you have to mark it, upload somewhere, and you have to paste it like on FB, as Migara said. To watch our previous sessions, you can go to YouTube links we have provided you. Don't hesitate to subscribe. You can get more updates about new technologies. If you need to get quick updates about the session, you can follow our FB page. We are going to wind up to this session. Thank you so much for being a part of us throughout this session. Thank you.